Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. I appreciate everyone hopping on here today. My name is Caleb. I am on board here, the SEDDI team. I will be your host for today's conversation webinar. I'm joined over here by my guy Korey here over at Extreme Screen Prints.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
He'll be joining in on the conversation. He'll be a great resource to talk through what we're going to be focusing on today, which is really the new visual standard for the modern print shop, the shifts we're seeing in the industry, what's been working, and obviously some problems that Korey may have seen in the past and what has changed for him. For ones who may not know SEDDI, we've been in the apparel industry for several years now. Today, we'll be focused on our platform we have called SEDDI Decorator, which gives you the ability to create 3D digital replicas for your customers, for your team, and overall improve production, approval process, and getting mockups out to your customers and streamlining everything from that point on. So I have Korey here over at Extreme Screen Prints. He'll be joining in on the conversation. Korey has years and years of experience here, probably more than he'd like to admit here in the industry. He's seen it from day one to where things are, shifting towards now, what he's seeing. So let's kick it off here, man. How'd you get started in this industry? What brought you from, day one here, how you got to Extreme Screen Prints?
Yeah, to be honest, make a long story short, I kind of started when I was really young. I remember being sick home from school when I was a kid, designing t-shirts. I actually designed my elementary and middle school class t-shirts and then got them printed at a local print shop. And then just out of high school, I actually ended up, first job was at that print shop doing stock and receiving. And I worked there for a few years. Just after that, I moved to Michigan to be with some family and got my first job in Michigan here at Extreme Screen Prints. Two really amazing mentors kind of just taught me everything, gave me a ton of freedom to move around, learn every position, ask questions. I got in the office. I started doing business development, pricing, sales, working with clients. I was in production, operations, managing separations, art, and everything. And then I moved out to California, got a job at Liquid Graphics, worked my way up again there. Again, super amazing, unbelievable mentors. Taught me even tenfold more from where I kind of started from here. And now I'm back at Extreme Screen Prints, again, back with some family. And my fiance is from here, so she's missing home. So it was important for us to be back and local. And the only place I want to be is here back at Extreme. So I kind of merged everything I learned in every department, at every place, and every mentor, and brought it here.
Yeah. No, that's great to hear, man. Sounds like a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to kind of get where we are now, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know you mentioned you left and kind of came back. What's the day-to-day look like for you now?
So I came back, when I started at, or where I ended up at Extreme was actually more so in a sales role with about 20% management and operations. When I went to California and I got to Liquid, I kind of really got to play with my operations side and my production side. So I really got to learn a lot more, develop more, and kind of implement a lot more on the production operations side there.
Yeah.
So coming back, just in my absence, that's kind of where they found they needed the help back here. So I stepped back in an operations role. So I'm directing operations here at Extreme. However, now I'm on the 80-20 where my 20% is now in sales, marketing, ads, customer experience.
Yeah.
But about 80% on the day-to-day, just running the shop.
That's awesome. How big of a team are we looking at over Extreme? I guess how many people are working under you on the shop, on the floor, in production, creating art, getting proofs out?
Yeah. We vary a lot throughout the year, and we're definitely growing our office and art side. Currently, we're at about 25 employees. We scale up to about 30 to 40 through our busy season. So we have 4 automatics. We have an embroidery department. We have a full heat press department. We do have a pretty small office staff at the moment. So when you have a team of 2 for the art department, split between separation, screen printing, and embroidery, and then the 3 customer service account managers.
Gotcha. Cool. Off of that, I guess since, leaving Extreme, going to Liquid, now coming back, what kind of growth have you seen from your team from when you were there originally to where you are now? And what specialties have you seen advance and kind of change in your shop every single day?
Yeah. So just before I left, we were almost entirely contract screen printing.
Yeah.
The shop was kind of a weird niche contract screen printer where we did a lot of the specialty, oversized, jumbo, simulated process, all the kind of stuff that a lot of other contract screen printers just don't touch just because of the margins. We really just developed a way to try to be as efficient as possible, charge accordingly, and develop our processes, people, and training around that. However, the last like year I was here, we were really making a strong push to get away from that and start pushing custom sales, build out a website, build out a better customer and user experience. And so when I left, we were almost 90 to 100% contracts. And by the time I came back, now we're at about 30, 40% contract. And kind of just trying to make that percentage smaller and smaller as we grow.
Yeah, so really now dealing more, direct to customers, speaking with them every single day, really just being hands-on with the customer base now instead of just dealing with more of the contract side. Is that kind of the goal of where we're looking
Oh,
to
yeah.
lead? For sure. Awesome. And I guess that obviously leads to a lot of bottlenecks and problems that a lot of other shops are probably seeing is just the communication with customers, getting proofs out, getting into production. There's a lot of headache and, trouble that can come with that. I guess tell me from your perspective, what are you seeing with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost all communication. And
Yeah.
like being that contract wholesale shop previously, we were able to have a lot more accountability with our clients. We were being provided a lot more instructions, a lot more resources to kind of process work and build our production. So we
Yeah.
had the super efficient production because our everything was super streamlined up front. We had one person up front handling millions of dollars a year in revenue,
Yep.
just purely because the communication was very dialed in. Relationships are very established, very strong, and a lot of it, the direct to customer side, has nothing to do with us at that point. So we don't even see the orders until they're fully polished and in our inbox. As we started growing, we started seeing some of the problems that they're having too up front. And of course, at that time, we were always there to assist them and help them with that communication. So when they kind of have some issues, maybe they're not technical enough to be able to explain something properly, we would work through Slack or through email or on phone and kind of like be able to communicate with them, have them explain or just almost regurgitate what we're trying to explain to the customer to make sure when we print it, it comes out how they wanted it to. But now we're seeing that up front with tens, dozens, hundreds of customers throughout a week and a month, and it's a lot to handle. And it's just the communication speed is not always very fast. You don't always get answers very quickly. So just trying to like make sure that what you're presenting to that customer is what they're going to get in hands when you produce it is the most important part. And there's just so many variables to try to explain properly, especially when you get into more difficult print styles or weird garments, different print locations. We're trying to explain all these variables, things that can go wrong to make sure that when they get the product, they know what to expect properly.
Yeah. And there's no back and forth or, losing revenue, getting them shipped back and having to do the whole process over again, right?
Yeah, 100%. So we'd rather be very thorough up front,
Yes.
even if sometimes it seems like a bit much on the email end or calls, but we'd rather be upfront with the customer on expectations or trying to persuade them to maybe better decisions and just guiding them kind of through that process to make sure that they have a product that is high quality and going to sell and going to hit properly.
Yeah. One of the most common, things I hear when I'm speaking to other decorators around the industry is just from that first touch point with the customer, getting them a quality image and a proof to see before you can get it out to your team is one of the most time consuming. Because if you're working with 50, 60, 70, sometimes even 20 or 30 client shops you're working with, just spending the time to get the mock-ups and proofs out to them so you could actually start and do your job. It takes so much time. Is that something you guys seen in the past, obviously too, on your front?
Yeah, for sure. And it's like we have to, right? Because every shop is going to be different. They're set up different ways. Some are a little bit more flexible in production, and maybe they're smaller and their staff is a little higher trained or able to make some of those decisions.
Yeah.
But I mean, us coming from contract, it's purely trying to be as efficient as possible, have those things answered so that production doesn't have to stop and question anything. So now it's not only trying to answer those questions properly, but to the degree that we've had established and built our
Yeah.
entire shop around.
Yeah. And you mentioned production there. What's from your perspective and your experience, what's been the most common, production issues you just run into? Is it that communication portion you spoke to earlier, or is it once orders are in and you guys start? Like, where's the biggest hiccups you were saying in your experience?
Yeah, it's all over the place. But like SEDDI was an obvious choice for us because when I got here, the biggest thing that we were having was literally just sizing, placement, matching mock-ups. And we still have these brokers and contract relationships, but then we also have all these custom relationships now. So with our brokers, if it's a mock-up that they're generating, they're showing their client, and then it comes to us, it's really hard for us sometimes when it gets on press and you actually print it and now you see what it looks like on that garment. and it's nowhere near that mock-up.
Yep.
Now we don't have direct access. We had no part in that communication with that client, and we don't know exactly what they're expecting or how particular they are about that sizing, placement, colors. So it leads to a ton of hiccups on press. And when I got here, we were still making our mock-ups internally, just using Photoshop, Illustrator, and we had one file that was to size, that was just a black standard t-shirt that we would use for almost anything we could. But then the industry started opening up all these crazy blank styles, these drop shoulders, heavyweights, oversized, crop tops, all kinds of stuff that we weren't really expecting, that no longer is practical for us to be using this one Photoshop file that's to size. So then for those, you got all kinds of other options, literally cutting things out, laying it out on the floor, trying to like check, make sure it's going to line up properly. But yeah, with that one file, it just ends up being an issue because without it, we're just guessing the best we can on these mockups. We're trying to communicate that to the client, and then it hits press and there's still issues, even if it
Yeah.
looks a little bit off.
Yeah, it's you're fighting about it with one arm tied behind your back, right? Because there's so many
Yeah.
problems that can lead from that. Tell me a little bit more about the full process you guys were going through. Obviously, before joining up on partnering with SEDDI, what was the full process looking like from the first touch point with a customer, getting a mock-up and a proof out to them? How long did that take for you and your team? And then obviously getting that order out. Walk me through the full workflow that you guys were going through every day.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say it's perfect either, because again, we're still kind of going through this transition, going from wholesale to direct to customer.
Yeah.
So early on in this direct to customer experience, we were maybe a little bit a little bit, I don't know, like a little bit tenser with these clients, or like maybe holding them a little bit more accountable for stuff that maybe we should have just done originally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, simply put, we weren't really making any mock-ups. We weren't pushing anything through. It was all cash up front. So,
Yep.
and a lot of that's just trust. And like we present as much as we possibly can online on what our quality standards are, what our capabilities are, and everything. So these customers come in, they already have a lot of trust with us. We have this early discussion with them. We accept their art. And depending on the scale of the project, we might have had a consultation with them. For smaller projects, it might just be a quick back and forth on email, or maybe just hopping on a phone call, processing that art, going through the order, quoting them, send out a quote. Once approved, convert to an invoice, collect payment. And then at that point, we would be going through the process of starting all these mock-ups and creating a proof sheet that basically has all the information for them to look at. We would send that proof sheet off, get that approval, and then it just goes through production from there. So there's a lot of back and forth, not just on art quality, but also, you know, goods, blanks, sizing, pricing, delivery, all kinds of stuff before we even start making those mock-ups. The smaller orders, it not as bad, but still at that time, again, our whole thing is high quality, trying to push out the best product we can, coaching our clients as much as we can. So we're still going through the best possible way to create these mock-ups for them at the time. Some maybe 10, 20 minutes. Some could be 30, 40 minutes when you're doing all these cutouts, kind of double checking yourself before you send anything off to the client. Just creating the proofs alone was another 20, 30 minutes. For larger projects, like we do a lot of drop projects, merch drops for a lot of clients where it goes up for sale. They get their numbers, they cancel the drop, send us all the art and everything at once. We process this whole bulk order together and then go through that whole process, start to finish, send everything off for approval. Those could be a whole day easily, just
Yeah.
doing mock-ups and proofing.
Yeah, especially being limited just with the one singular file we had beforehand, and just hoping that fit every single basket you guys were trying to solve with each customer, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And off of that, with the approval process you guys have, what are the full, details you guys trying to get from them? I mean, spec count, measurement, neck down, what's everything you guys are trying to capture, in that process before partnering with SETI? I mean, it seemed like it was a pretty limited process you guys had just with the one mockup. You guys had save file in Photoshop.
Yeah. So, I mean, the initial conversations always revolves around blank and art. And then it's a compatibility issue. Is this art compatible with that blank? Is it compatible with the print style that they want, with the ink types they want?
Yep.
Past that, once we start getting into mocking that up, it's a matter of not just sizing, but trying to match that compatibility, make sure that the ink type looks like it's going to actually print. The sizing and placement is definitely client to client. We have some that are extremely particular. In their first email that they send us, they tell us exactly that they want all these left chests 3 inches, all the backs at 3.5.
Yep.
We have other clients, no idea, no preference. And from there, we'll just do our best guess and our best preference depending on the art. I mean, for left chest, it could vary quite a bit just on the size of the left chest. Same thing for backs. And then if it's going on hoodies, it's going to have to change in production anyways. So every client, some are very particular about very particular things and they stay consistent with that forever. And that we kind of just build that into our relationship with them and just have that expectation set up front. Other clients, no preference at all. We kind of have a little bit more freedom to, again, kind of guide them or just do it. They're relying on us to choose that placement.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned you have some very particular customers. So I'm sure you kind of have some horror stories in the past. What was some of those horror stories, when there was a lack in that communication and some of those details weren't captured?
Yeah, for sure. We got tons of those too. And again, we're as if not more particular than a lot of those clients, but we have some clients that, the slightest thing is off on a single order, whether it's just one piece is a half inch off on location or color or sizing is maybe not what they expect. That's now like ingrained in our brains and our memory and our relationship with this client. And now every single order going forward, if we even have like the slightest question, we'll stop production,
Yeah.
we'll fix it, and then we'll continue. So, I mean, there's clients that we know are just particular sizing, and it could be maybe something we missed in that process up front. We sent them a mock-up that looked like this. The art went through, and it could have been either a miscommunication on what that mock-up looks like in inches. It could have been a miscommunication in the art department. It could have been almost anywhere in the shop. Doesn't really matter if it ended up on press and it got printed and it doesn't look like the mock-up or doesn't match the exact inches that the customer sent us, depending on the client. We'll stop the job, take it down, move on to a different job, fix it, process it back through separations, back through screens, remake the whole thing. Even if we're losing on the order, it's better to retain that relationship, not even pose the question of, hey, would this be okay? We just fix it and move on. So a lot of downtime due to accidents, miscommunication, pretty much anything. We'll accept that downtime to retain that relationship with almost every single one of those clients every time.
Yeah. So Corey, we've been talking a lot here about kind of the problems that we've seen, obviously for your shop and a lot of other shops are probably having the same problems and the listener are now thinking, yep, we're dealing with that as well right now. So you've been partnered with SEDDI for quite some time now. We've been in the apparel industry for quite some time and specifically branched into the printed apparel space with our product SEDDI Decorator, which solves a lot of the problems that you've been referencing here today, faster approvals, more accuracy going into production. So I guess kind of give me some backstory here of, your experience so far. How has it solved a lot of the problems you've been speaking to today? Give me some experience from your side.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was introduced to SETI previously. And then when I got here at Extreme, it was already in the back of my mind.
Hmm.
And immediately I'm kind of getting reintroduced to Extreme, kind of seeing what's going on, what's changed, what's new, what kind of issues are we currently having and are we currently facing. Immediately within the first couple weeks, I saw almost every single one of those cases happen at some point. And immediately I remember SETI,
Yep.
kind of reached out to you guys, got that process started, talked to my customer service team, got them on the calls, and it was already immediately a huge relief. I mean, once we started using it, literally none of that happened at all. And like it took a couple weeks for us to phase out kind of all those mockups that are already in production, but it was already so familiar and so easy to build into our processes at the time, just because we were currently already making mockups regardless. We're building these entire proofs from scratch. We're working with Printavo. So we're able to utilize SETI to make those mockups to place into our proofs and build that into our production almost perfectly seamlessly just because it's replacing Photoshop essentially. Um, yeah, immediately got rid of almost every single one of those issues. We didn't have any of that really happen at all anymore, at least for everything that we're using SETI for. It was non-existent.
Yeah. You just mentioned what we're using SETI for. So the overall communication, how has that changed for you guys? Just like for, from getting a proof over to, Greg in the back or Paul and, your customer service team, how much more seamlessly has it been for the Extreme team using it?
Yeah, so initially, my biggest concern initially was the customer service team. Even at that time, our customer service is like, I think a lot more art heavy than maybe some shops. There was even a time where we had customer service doing separations, the whole process for every order. We've since gotten away from that and built out this art department. But even now, and when we started with SEDDI, the customer service team was still handling mockups just because it speeds up that client communication between them and us initially. So you can kind of see how that can enter some issues with production because then if there's any production issues, we're going back to square one. We're going all the way back to customer service. We're going back to what was the communication with the client. If it's just sizing, are they expecting the inches to be correct or are they expecting the mockup to be correct and why? And then what decision can we make from here depending on that client?
Yeah. I know you just mentioned measurements there. Overall, going to production after you get an approval, what kind of difference have you seen before and to now? I mean, just put a layman, just mistakes in general. Have those just like kind of drastically decreased?
Yeah, almost non-existent. Like that first, I think those first couple weeks I was here, it wasn't like, like a end of the world situation,
Yeah.
but it was like,
Nothing
I'm
was on
seeing
fire.
all these, yeah, yeah, or the building's not on fire, but I'm like, I'm seeing all these different examples of how that communication can go wrong, the types of clients, what they're particular about, and how that impacts production. The ones that we're totally halting production for, the ones where maybe it's a quick phone call and a quick check, but it was constant. Once we started implementing SETI, my first and main priority was just implementing a new software is always going to be questioned. It's going to be, you're going to have skeptics. You're going to have people that are maybe a little concerned on it. So it was like important when meeting with SETI to get my customer service team on board since they're the ones doing the mockups and they're already Photoshop savvy. They're very smart people. Like they know what they're doing. They all have an art background. Them in SETI is like the easiest thing in the world for them. It's, I mean, 10 steps easier than Photoshop by far. So immediately just using it was already faster. They could process artwork a lot quicker, get those mockups done a lot quicker, and then we could easily implement it into our current system. All we had to do is just stop making those mockups in Photoshop, make them in SETI, export from SETI, and send that off to the client. From there, I think it's very scalable for us to, I guess the biggest point, it was easy for us to introduce because we could use parts of SETI and build those into our process and then start expanding on which parts of SETI we're using and kind of test and play around with them. The biggest and most impactful piece was literally just correct size and correct placement and a correct visual. Um, just because it's really just not that easy to get that with all the artwork that we're handling all the time and the speed that we have to do them at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can't say how many times I've spoken to, some decorators and they're doing mock-ups on Photoshop and it's taken them probably 2 hours on most, and if it's a day they have to be on the shop because they have someone not be able to come into work that day, and then they might not get an approval out for, a day or 2, and then they're writing the measurements down on Post-it notes or pieces of paper, and they're just passing it to Greg in the back, and they had a $2,000 mistake on an order a month ago, and then now they're risking that. And so when they come on board and they just have that pure accuracy and the time that they save just from creating them, just from like a 3D image that's already created for you, you drop a logo on, you can get it off to a customer very easily. They're saving hours, I mean, sometimes days in a month of the pure work that they were using. So I know you mentioned this on expanding with Decorator. What are we looking to expand on using SETI and Decorator as we approach the busier time of the year for this industry, which we all know picks up around June, July, August, September. So what's the vision from where you guys are now and where you're looking to be?
Yeah. So again, initially just using the mockup section of SETI, exporting those images, dropping those into our proofs. My biggest want and need is to get rid of these proofs entirely. And
Mhm.
it's just another step. And like you were talking about, that the timing trickles down to like every hour that we don't have these mockups done and this proof sent out is an hour that maybe we missed the blank ordering deadline. We won't proceed with the order at all until everything's approved and paid for
And
just
they
because
go
a
somewhere else
customer,
and we lost business. Yep.
yeah, customer can always change their mind. So we don't ever purchase anything until it's approved. That trickle down though is massive. And so originally just starting with the mockups, placing those in our proofs. My biggest one I need to get rid of these proofs. We're spending even more time just making these proofs. SETI has the tech pack generator, which is almost exactly the same thing and can be paired with the printable information, which carries our shipping,
Yeah.
quantities, billing, and everything. So it's kind of like this nice half and half. So the last after implementing the mockups into our proof system, we've since started transitioning to not creating proofs for some clients, just pairing the tech pack into Printavo, sending that off for approval, just to get rid of any possible redundancy, speed up the timeline as much as possible. And the quality is even improved. Like our proofs look nice. We make them custom for every order. But at the same time, the only way we'll get away from that is if there's something comparable that looks as professional, as clean, and as detailed to the client. So the SEDDI Tech Pack is perfect. So that transition is going very well for us too. Going further than that, I see almost like indefinite uses and use cases for SEDDI. Like even as our relationship with SEDDI might be a little bit different since we're early adopters, but I mean, just like our whole experience and relationship with SEDDI has been incredible from the start. And like working with Harrison, I think just that relationship and the development of SEDDI
Yeah.
since the beginning.
You've been working with our team obviously a lot. And we obviously never want to, overall completely replace what you guys have in place now. We want to be really a visual, I guess, visual layer into what your guys' current processes are. And obviously merging, SETI into the picture as well and making things as streamlined as possible for you and your team. So I guess tell me a little bit more about what that process has been like, adopting SETI into current systems and, adding that extra, layer into your tech stack, that platform that you're using with other systems as well.
Yeah, 100%. So we quickly realized too, as we were implementing and using SETI, that it started becoming this source of truth, this like root for all of our information that's being processed through production. Another big difference, I think, with us is we don't do a lot of sampling. A lot of our orders are straight to production. So dialing everything in, having this visual up front and working off of that is very important. And we realized that with our customer service team, going through a whole process that we discussed earlier through discussion, blanks, quoting, we have a lot of information going in Printavo, and then we have a lot of information going into SETI now. And we're working our best to be able to pair the two and use them in our processes without having to recreate that whole proof. But with the amount of information that's going into SETI and the extent that we're using it through our process, there's almost like infinite potential for building in SETI in a number of different areas too. And for us, it was immediately like for me, flagging it and coming to SETI was purely for production reasons and the downtime they were talking about earlier, just based off communication.
Mhm.
But with us moving away from this contract wholesale side of the business into this direct to customer side, we're also seeing a lot more use for sales, customer experience, having those professional mockups, professional tech packs, quick turnaround times on the whole discussion and back and forth. And then part of our discussions too with SETI so far being early adopters is kind of like what could that roadmap look like? What is potential and what are good use cases for someone like us? And for us, kind of being earlier or new-ish compared to other shops on this direct to customer side, a lot of it is just trying to figure out what does that customer want to see? What's going to land a sale and what's going to turn this customer into a reoccurring customer and build a relationship with them. And a lot of it is just user experience. So
Mhm.
like even like currently on our website, right, if you go through and you build a quote and you look through the whole thing, it's a pretty robust quoter tool that we built custom with the developer just purely because we didn't like anything at the time that was available. And we wanted customers to at least be able to have quick and easy access to pricing and blank options and shop around. But currently there's no visual access at all. So, and we don't know how much of those customers we're potentially losing just because there is no visual for them to be able to access, play around with like they do have on some competitor sites. So, and the SETI visual is better than a lot of the ones that I've seen elsewhere too. So
We love to hear that.
it's like important to us to kind of see that there is potential using SETI in a number of different areas and a matter of working alongside SETI to develop and answer those questions and test things out and build what we need to build kind of together.
Absolutely. And you right there at the end, you mentioned just working with the team. We've just talked a lot today about how important communication is. Since coming on board with the SETI team, where have you seen the growth from, you having requests? Hey, how could we make the platform better? And just day-to-day communication with us. Where have you seen, that grow from when you started to where you are now?
Yeah, a lot of it, I guess for a good reason, a lot of it grew very early on. Like our immediate relationship with SEDDI was kind of built around this, like, hey, like we love this. I would just love if this does this. And then within like a day, hear back from Julie, schedule a call with Harrison, kind of work with him, answer some questions, and it would be implemented within a few days or a week. And then the biggest thing for SETI for a lot of people, like when I've talked to other shops or local people about SETI, some of their first questions are all around the blank options and availability.
Mhm.
And for us too, a lot of that early on was just a click of a button, just requesting a blank to be added. It goes onto a list. And it sounds like Harrison's really dialed in a way to prioritize these and get them added as quickly as possible. And we really never had any issues with any blanks that we've requested not being added. And we've seen that catalog grow quite a lot just since we started with SETI. And we kind of see these trends come and go too, or we have clients that come and go. So when we have a client that comes in and it's maybe a weirder option that's not available on SETI, we can request it, it's available. And there's a very short period of time where we're, working with workarounds, either in SETI or outside of SETI, and then problem solved, and we're good to go for the duration of the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned request a model option because that's something a lot of our customers are utilizing every day. Because I mean, as you've learned, our customers help build our database of products with us. I mean, you guys are the experts. You guys are working with the customers every single day. You guys know the products that you need access to make your business flow and make more profitable. Because I mean, different SKUs and different styles are changing every day. So that's one of my favorite options and features with our platform is just you click a button. If you need a new SKU, you don't see it in there right now, you request it, and then our team will have it to you completely updated the platform for you to use and people down the line that come on board who may need that same exact style as well. So that's great to hear you mention that as well. So I mean, obviously we've spoke a lot about the previous processes and kind of where you are now. Do you see a platform like this where it's kind of shifting the industry a little bit. We're getting better quality images out to your customers for faster approval. Have you seen that shift from when you first even started using Decorator to where we are now? I mean, I guess where do you see the industry going down the line?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like I've had a lot of these conversations with Julie where and like our relationship being a contract and wholesale screen printer for the majority early on and still is if everybody used SETI, there would be no issues. Like it's a lot of it is we work with brokers, tons of different types of contractors and wholesalers that all are producing their own mock-ups their own way. Some of them none at all. And at least now we have a quicker way to be able to produce them for them and maintain a relationship. Before there's a little bit of pushback because we're making custom mock-ups and we're doing it for free for contract low margin relationships. Now, at least it's really not even that much of an issue. We can just quickly knock them out in SETI, send them back, and we don't have to create any tension at all.
Yeah.
Other contractors, though, they have maybe a team or an army of salespeople that are doing their own mock-ups or they're outsourcing them somewhere else and we don't know where. And we don't know what that communication was with the client. So a big part of me talking with Julie is like, I need to somehow get all of my contractor and wholesale partners to either integrate with us using SETI or use SETI on their own or some sort of partnership or situation that we can resolve these issues together. Because again, it's even worse with them because we don't have direct access to the client. I have no idea what that communication was up front. And
Yeah.
so if we just wing it and we print what sizing they gave us on their PO and it doesn't look right, it's not really on us, but we don't want it to be that way because now we have an unhappy customer either way.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the communication for us to fix it is twice, three times, four times as long because we don't know if they're going to answer an email quickly. We don't know if they're going to answer a call and then they have to call their customer. Sometimes their customer has to call their customer. There's a whole tail that happens that we just can't afford to have in production because of something that we weren't even in control of at the time. So I've seen a lot already. I think the more people that use SETI in one way or another is just going to strengthen our entire industry. It's going to strengthen our partnerships. It's going to strengthen response time. It's going to make customers happier at the end of the day and resolve a lot of issues. So I think the more people that can get on board and just use SETI, the happier we'll be one way or another. It's either with our direct to clients or our, wholesale broker clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the goal is really just have the industry head towards, I mean, just a more connected production aligned, have workflows in sync where there's no miscommunication between your team in-house or any miscommunication with your customers, and time is just saved all around because obviously time is money, especially in this industry when every person that's on the team probably has their hand in 3 to 4, 5, maybe sometimes even 6 different buckets across the shop.
Yeah. And again, back to the potential, like the way that SEDDI is built from the beginning, there's so much potential on how you can integrate with those types of clients. I mean, just within SEDDI, sharing collections back and forth, maybe even new things on the horizon that we could use without even having to go back through email or back through all this whole process. We could have these communications with those clients, like direct to business or business to business clients, where we can help them out and aid that discussion through SETI without ever having to get out of it. And then we can guide them, show them maybe what might look better, might work better in production, or just have a better product in general. And then they can process that to their client up front.
Absolutely. So I mean, I guess off of that, I guess from your perspective, what are you most excited for? I mean, going forward, it's a pretty open-ended question.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a lot changing in our industry and perhaps a little bit of uncertainty on where we're going to go as a shop and what type of shop we're going to be. I mean, we're driven from this production side on being good at very specific things. And
Mhm.
we've built our shop around that. And SETI has helped us present that, I think, in a better way to some of these clients. I think I'm most excited about developing this user experience for a type of client that fits us best. I
Mhm.
mean, like these clients that can go on to Printful or maybe even Amazon now and get their onesie twosies or maybe even their small orders. They have a totally different type of user experience than the clients that are coming to us. We're working with clients that have a lot more invested in these projects. They're a lot more invested themselves. They might be the artist that developed it. It might be a side gig for them where they're working their full day job and then they're working 5, 6 hours at night to develop artwork. They're having this communication with us back and forth. It's very important to them and it's a massive thing. And I think just trying to develop and better that user's experience is, I think, pretty exciting because previously it's a little bit brutal. Honestly, it's a lot of back and forth and questioning and coaching and trying to teach them screen printing and what's going to work and what isn't going to work. And now we have a better visual representation to discuss those things with the client a lot more rapidly without having to go back and create these mock-ups and examples of what can and can't work and why. I think I'm excited for ways that we can work around that, help them out a little bit, encourage them to be, I think, a better part of the community and work alongside us instead of a little bit not against us, but
Yeah.
felt a lot more abrasive, I think, before, just because there's no way to really talk about that without us investing a ton of our own time as well. So I think now we can cut that down. It's easier for us to have those discussions with them. And I think that part of the industry needs some growth and needs to be elevated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate all that insight. And I completely agree with you on that front. I mean, just to kind of go back to just the real digital replica of the products that's within the database that you're requesting every single day if you need different styles and different SKUs. Just from the touch point with a customer, did you see an overall happiness when you're working with a customer and you can get them a real digital replica of like a 1717? To where in the past, they may just get like a bland black T-shirt with their logo, and it just kind of is just skewed on the front. But that's all they know. That's all they're used to seeing. So now, when they get a full like digital replica of that shirt, where they can kind of in their mind try it on online, did you see a happier customer? I guess to put it in the simplest terms.
I think so. I like to say with certainty, yes. I
Yeah,
think it's one of those things where like clients may not say anything to us, but like I
yeah,
know that they know that that's what they're thinking when they get it. Like the early transition too, where yeah, we have this one black T-shirt Photoshop file. They're used to seeing that all the time. For the weirder garments, we might be pulling something off of one of the distributors' websites and then creating a mock-up on that. And it's always these lay flat images or lay flat for a Photoshop file, or maybe if it's from a distributor, it might be like obviously pulled from a distributor, like some model wearing it
hmm
or some weird photo, and they're not very consistent all the time because they have thousands and thousands of SKUs of tons of different products. So it's all over the place. I think just shifting that to like now this consistent look and feel gives us a much better presentation. And they're like, oh, that's nice. That's different.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this the shift we're talking to where a lot of people don't even know it's a possibility because I mean it's just been ingrained
Yeah.
for so long that that's just what they're used to. They're just used to getting a model image or just a 2D shirt. Where now it's like, oh, this is something different. It's kind of like a shock and awe. Where it's like, okay, this is great. Let's keep this going forward, but type of thing. So
I think with new clients, it's a little bit more obvious, right? Because
yeah,
they worked with someone else and they got whatever mock-ups they were getting from them, if any at all. And
yeah,
then now they're getting these nice, fully presented 3D ghost model, 2 scale images of every single one of their products. Where before, again, with the collections tool too, like we can present a lot more than we could before. I mean, before I'm not going to mock up every single color of every single style and your hoodies and then the art on the front and the art on the back. Like we're going to scale it down, do what's necessary to communicate the raw function to the client. Whereas now we can present a lot more. We can present as much as they want to see. Um, so that they have a better idea of what to expect across the board on these orders with multiple SKUs, colors, garments, and locations.
yeah.
So I think that's a big factor for
Uh,
sure.
on the collection portion and new customers, has that been something you guys have tried? You might have a customer on the fence. They haven't used you guys yet, but then we build a collection, send it off and use it as kind of a tool to earn business too. Is that something we may have dabbled in or could down the road once we are more ironed out across the board with the team?
Yeah, for sure. That's Again, that's one of those topics where we're scaling more on this direct to customer side. We're seeing what works, what doesn't work, what level of effort it's going to take from us up front to land a client or land a sale. And that's definitely one of them. I mean, just building that presentation up front
Mhm.
is very handy. Like we do a lot of emails too for clients and we create sample boxes and send them out of, different prints or our prints. But the nature of screen printing is very difficult to use it as a sales tool. So having a visual that we can send along with an email as an introduction, be like, hey, this is what your merch could look like with the current art you have available. And we'd love to send you a little sample package and maybe continue this discussion. I think has been a tool that we're playing with recently, especially embroidery is a little bit easier. Like for embroidery, we can do samples a lot easier. So it's a little bit more handy to start that discussion and then maybe even send them a sample of their own product already done and complete to their door and then establish that communication from there. But yeah, definitely something we're dabbling with a little bit and using or building into our current sales
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah. No, awesome. Well, Corey, I'm sure we could go for hours, but I think we're going to move now into the Q&A portion, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. We've had some questions pre-submitted, some for you. Looks like I have a couple for me as well. Obviously, guys, if you have more questions too, so you'll have my communication, my email, my number afterwards. If you guys want to send some questions in after, but Corey, this first question is for you. I think we may have touched on it a little bit earlier, but I guess what's been the biggest operation change that you've seen since, adopting Decorator? I mean, I guess what's the biggest surprise to you, for you, anyone on the team since adopting SEDDI Decorator?
The biggest operation change, I think, has just been literally just saving on the downtime, the back and forth, the amount of times I have to come to the office to ask questions on basic things like sizing and placement. I think the biggest surprise that we've had is how wrong we might be about certain sizing that we guessed on certain garments. Like SETI originally was, we were a little skeptical as well, along with everyone else. But then the more that we started using it and building it in and testing, we would go through old products, pull up the blank and the art and build it in SETI and then hold it side by side. I think we're just surprised by how accurate SETI was and how much we can rely on that and maybe how wrong we were, especially on some of the weirder garments like drop shoulders, oversized, boxy garment. I think we saw just a big surprise on how much better that could be.
Yeah, absolutely. This next one is for me. So this question says, I keep seeing on your website that SETI is super accurate. What does that mean? So what that means is over at SETI, we work with the top blank apparel brands across the industry to create what these we've been referencing digital replicas of the styles and SKUs. When you are actually choosing a real world style from our library and then placing artwork on it, it's actually been placed in the actual location on the garment already. The system essentially recognizes that, and all the info carries on with the product that you've been creating down your workflow downstream. So, next one, Corey, for you is, has SEDDI Decorator changed the way customers respond during approvals?
I think so. I think, especially after building in and developing some of the placement options and functions, it's mitigated some of that questioning on placement with those more particular clients. So it's kind of the same thing, like because we built it in and integrated it a little bit smoother into our proof system, we didn't have any like early shock. But with some of those clients that are constantly like, well, is that 3 inches? Is that 3.5 inches? I think it resolved them. It made them feel a lot more comfortable. And we had a little bit less of that skepticism kind of going on with our own, previous guessing and mockups that we had before.
Gotcha. Well, Corey, that was all the questions that we had pre-submitted. Again, guys, if you have more questions, we'll answer them for you. If you want to shoot over an email, shoot over a call, shoot over a text, we can absolutely answer those questions for you guys afterwards. Or if you want to book a time to chat, you can obviously go to our website, request a demo, book a time, and we'll carve out 30 minutes for you guys to kind of walk you through everything that comes with SEDDI Decorator. Corey, this has been awesome, man. I appreciate you hopping on and really just kind of discussing the shift that we're seeing in the industry, faster approvals from clients, obviously more accuracy, streamlined production. That's obviously the goal for Extreme and every print shop out there. Because when things are flowing and things are more streamlined, more shirts are being made and more profits are being shared across the board. And that's obviously the name of the game. So, I mean, Corey, do you have any questions for me at all before we hop off here, man?
No, I think that's it. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. This has been great. This has been great. I appreciate everyone for watching, tuning in, chatting today. Again, if you have any more questions, go to SEDDI.com and book some time with us, and we'll walk you through everything in more of a one-on-one setting. So appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.